Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are continuing our Christmas card series for 2025. Today I am using the Concord and 9th. This is the Winter Greenery background. This is a stamp, stencil, and die set. The die set not only cuts out that big floral bouquet, but it also cuts out those greetings that you see there with their coordinating shadow layer. So it's a very, very versatile set. It was illustrated by Christina Werner, so it's naturally just absolutely gorgeous because that's what she does. And I have not used this before, so I am quote unquote prepping my stamp with just rubbing my hand over the stamp. Stamps usually come with some sort of like manufacturing like film on them, and so or like a residue, and so I just rub my hand over it to kind of get some of that off. That doesn't always get all of it off. There are some, like Altenew has a like stamp like conditioning tool. You can put Versamark ink on it, but really the best way to season your stamps is just to use them. I am stamping in some Gina K Obsidian amalgam ink today. This is for the initial stamping. I wish this was crisper and blacker, but it's not. But it is safe for Copic markers or alcohol markers, which is what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using my artist markers from Altenew, and this ink is safe for that. I am stamping on some HAMMERMILL cardstock. This is just my preferred cardstock to do a lot of my techniques, I guess. I don't... It's the most economical for me. So I'm going to do 2 cards today. I'm going to do them the exact same way, although if you wanted to mass produce this would be very easy to do so. It does have coordinating stencils, which would make coloring this in very, very simple. However, I have not done any like coloring in this series yet. And if stencils are not your jam, or you don't have a lot of stencils, but you have a lot of open imagery, like this has a lot of open space on it, then maybe you like to watercolor, or maybe you like to use colored pencils or some other color medium besides stencils. So I decided that I probably ought to do a different method technique in today's video. Now, one of the things that I'm doing today is not only am I using my alcohol markers, so my artist markers from Altenew, but I am not doing any shading. So for me, in my mind, and looking at the inspiration, like the packaging, this lent itself to a very modern graphic look, and that's kind of what I ran with. However, if you wanted to do all of the blending and shading and light sources and get super awesome depth, go for it. Like that, this would be a great image to do so, and you could really make this beautiful and your own. However, I wanted to go for more a graphic look. So I am going to color this in with just one solid color. I do not color this fast. I did speed this up in editing because what I do with one card, I do with the other, and I didn't want to bore you. So I will list all of the colors of artist markers I'm using down below. However, if you have a different brand of alcohol marker, use that. If you don't have alcohol markers at all, but you've got Crayola markers, use those. Use what you got. Whatever makes you happy, whatever you like to color with, use that. So what I'm doing different to kind of lean into that graphic, modern, almost color block kind of look is because each of these petals on this poinsettia have 2 segments, 2 pieces. I'm coloring one piece in a lighter color, and then I'm coloring the other section on that same petal a darker color. I wasn't paying attention to a light source. That was not the goal today. I just really wanted to have some very modern, I don't mean blocky is in a bad way, but very like blocky sections of color. So I did this on the leaves of the poinsettia, or the petals of the poinsettia, and then the holly leaves. So there is 2 segments of holly leaves on here that I was able to capture how I, set this up. And I colored the holly leaves the same way as I am coloring the leaves, or the petals, on the poinsettia, where one side is a darker green and the other side is a lighter green. And I kind of chose more olivey greens today. And then the berries, I was very inspired by, the color palette that Christina Werner used to give us an idea. And so I did those in a bluish color, a more of a true blue color, but lighter. I did toy with the idea of doing this in very non-traditional colors. I did toy with the idea of doing like teals and purples and that kind of thing, but I really was happy with how these turned out. I think I achieved the look I was going for. So the colors that I used for the poinsettias was ruby red and grapevine. The centers, which you will see in the finished photos, I covered those up with some pearls. But to originally color these in, I colored them in with warm sunshine. The berries on the holly were done in iceberg. And then the greens, I used green opal and mossy meadow. And then I show here the color that I did the holly berries, or no, not the holly berries, but I guess it's mistletoe. I didn't really like that color next to it. So I think I went with the darker color, and that is the forest fern, which is the color I'm using right now. So I will go back and color that, and I just didn't like how that looked. They were too close that they clashed. I don't know. I just didn't like them. I much preferred this. So what you see it that I did on this card, I'm going to do on the other card as well. So I didn't record that. I figure what you saw on one, you get the gist. You can see on the other. So I told you that I used the Gina K Amalgum in Obsidian ink. I left my stamp and my cardstock in the same spot. Now you'll see, you probably noticed it before I did. I need to flip my cardstock around because right now I will totally stamp it wrong. So I am using Versafine Onyx Black ink to stamp this again. And I will show you a side by side so that you can see here. I noticed, I was like, oh no. So thankfully I noticed that before I dropped the lid on my Misty here. I prefer the really dark, rich, crisp black that Versafine Onyx Black gives me. I can use the Gina K Obsidian ink for lots and lots and lots of techniques, but it's not a very deep, rich black like the Versafine Onyx Black. So I'm going to peel this up and show you a side by side so you can see what I'm talking about here. There is just a huge difference between the one on the left that we stamped in the Versafine Onyx Black and the one that we just stamped in the Gina K Obsidian. So I will repeat this on this panel, and then I do want to let you know that before I started to use my artist markers, I did heat set the Gina K Obsidian ink, just because I find that needs to be heat set before I do any coloring on it at all. It stays wet just long enough that if you go right into whatever color medium you're using, you're going to end up smearing, especially if you're using lighter colors, you're going to notice it really, really easily. So I'm going to clean everything off, and then I am going to trim these down just a hair. I'm going to take it 1/4 inch off one side and off the top, and that will give me just a little bit of a border. I did toy with the idea of die cutting these out and layering them on a very dark colored cardstock, maybe a deep navy or a deep green. And if I were to do more of these, I might consider doing that just to give some variation to the design here. But I think layering these on white was was pretty also. You could even do like a gold matte behind it. That would be beautiful. But I was trying to kind of keep these on the easier side. If you wanted to, you could also use like an artist marker, a Copic marker, whatever you have, and just color in that background in a different color. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think her stencil set has one that will just color the background. I noticed that she's been doing that a lot lately with her releases, that she will have one that will color the background of the image. I don't know if this one is one of those. I'd never looked. The thought just came to me just now. But that is something you could also do if you wanted to just ink blend the background. So here I decided that this needed a little bit of a shadow. So I'm taking some foam tape from Amazon and I'm going to pop up these panels and then I will glue these directly to the card base. To give myself just a little bit of wiggle room, I do put a little bit of liquid glue on the back of the foam tape just so that I can kind of wiggle things in place a little easier. And that's what you see me doing here. And then I will repeat this on the second panel. And here's a little trick for you. So if you do not have a colored cardstock that matches your layout perfectly, just use, the ink or the watercolor, or in this case, the artist marker to create your own custom colored cardstock. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking that grapevine and I am just scribbling it on there and double checking that it will cover the entire shadow layer. And then I will send this through my die cut machine. I already die cut a greeting from that winter greenery background set that says warm wishes. I cut that twice out of just HAMMERMILL cardstock and then one time out of gold cardstock from Pinkfresh Studio. And I will end up layering those together. I did run those through my Xyron sticker maker, and I wish in hindsight I would have just cut those with some like Altenew double-sided sticky tape. I ended up having a lot of little stringy glue bits that I was really struggling to get out of there. Even with burnishing it really well, there was just a lot of like stringy glue bits left behind. And so I really do wish that I would have cut those out, had the foresight to cut those out using some double-sided tape from Altenew. But hindsight's always 2020. I did end up having to take my little pick there that you see and really kind of dig a lot of that glue out. And I still was not super pleased with the results, but it was okay for government work. Again, just do as I say, not as I do, and use some double-sided adhesive sheets to create your own stickers that way. This just didn't work out as I had hoped. And I think it's because the insides of that are so little, so small and detailed that it just struggled to pick up the rest of the adhesive on that backer sheet when you peel it off. So just a tip for you. Eventually got all of those layered up, and then I am gluing them to their custom red shadow layer, and then I am gluing those flat to the card. I did toy with the idea of popping those up, but I decided that we had already popped up the background, so we probably needed to rein in the dimension just in case these were going to go through the mail. So here I thought I was going to go ahead and kind of get us a little bit more gold on this card. So I went into my stash and I found some gold baubles. I think these are from Tailored Expressions, but I am not 100% sure. But anything you have in your stash would work. If you've got Nouveau drops or pearls, sequins, gems, whatever you've got, you can by all means use those. And I just chose the bigger ones that kind of filled in that opening a little better, and I will glue those down with some liquid glue. I just wanted to play up the gold that we have on the greeting and kind of give us a couple more spots, kind of that visual triangle of gold throughout this card, and I was really pleased with how that turned out. Once those are all glued in place, the final touch that I'm going to do is add a little bit of sparkle to the berries. I did toy with the idea of putting some glossy accents over the top of those. However, my glossy accents is very clogged. It's pretty much ruined. I just need to buy some more. And if I would have had some that was actually functioning, I probably would have done that. Just on the berries, to give them a little bit more interest and a little bit more sparkle and shine. But that is the card complete once I've done that step. I appreciate you spending time with me. Again, this would be a good card to mass produce if you wanted to. I just wanted to do just a couple cards today, just so I could use this set and become familiar with it and kind of get this idea that was in my head out. So that is the card complete. Again, I appreciate you spending time with me. I hope you have felt inspired through this series. And I hope if you've missed any videos in the series, you'll go back and check them out. So that is all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.